let's begin. So anyone that wishes to participate, by the way, if someone can share the link for the participation and attendance, please start doing this sheet, especially for the bonus. Where if I said you took a bonus or you didn't take, just you answer, you assume that you take a bonus. Yeah. So just assume so. So I need participation as much as possible. Okay. Okay. So we're continuing our discussion on classes, and uh, we'll talk again on constructors. Okay, you see me. Okay, so we'll talk again on constructors, and can someone define me what the constructor is and what is the benefit of the constructor?
The constructor is a member function,
Yes.
and its benefit is to initialize the objects or the objects of the class. For example, we have some private variables as objects, so the constructor is used to give these variables initial values.
Great, yeah, Muhammad. You
Doctor,
perfect. Yes,
isn't the constructor يعني like the default setting of the class?
yes, it's the same of what Muhammad is saying, the same thing. Yeah. Yes, Ala, you're right. Uh, who else can say something, يا جماعة? طيب. So the constructor is a member function. The constructor. I forgot to tell you something. Next Tuesday, inshallah, other than it's my birthday, we will give you a session. We'll give you a session for mainly one or two things. The first thing is that we'll give you a session of how to use GenMyModel. You remember GenMyModel is the tool for drawing UML class diagram and mini UML diagrams. So we'll give you a session of how to use GenMyModel. And this is the first session. We'll give you another session shortly after this session. Yeah. And the second thing that Mariam, your assistant, was suggesting that we should give you a session of how to debug a code, how to discover your problems in the code. It seems that why this is important? This is important because the code in 110 will get more challenging, and you have to discover how to locate the problems in the code. So some students send me actually sometimes their code, and I discover that they somehow have basic mistakes. I mean, they did the challenging part actually, and they have some basic mistakes that make their program not working. So we'll give you a session, inshallah, how to debug and how to locate your errors, whether they are syntax errors or whether they are semantic or logical issues in the program. So inshallah, this will be on next Tuesday for this section and for the other section. Okay. So
يعني
coming
two
back,
sessions هيكونوا on Tuesday.
it's not yeah, on Tuesday inshallah. Yeah. On what time? I believe it will be something like 5, 6 p.m., something like that. We'll agree on the timing, but it will not be in the morning anyways. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry,
So
can you repeat which day will we have the session?
next Tuesday, inshallah.
But I have the lab, the one credit
Yeah,
lab Tuesday.
some people have a lab at that time on Tuesday.
Okay, okay. خلاص. We'll agree on the timing. Don't worry. We will see if we can make it this Saturday. We'll see something. Yani, don't worry. I'll come back to you on this. Okay. Don't panic.
Right,
So
Doctor.
coming back, the constructor is a member function of the class, and this member function is a public member function. This member function is a public member function. It's always, the constructor is always a public member function. Okay. The second thing about the constructor, that its name is the same as the class name. So if this class is bank account, then the constructor is bank account as well. The third thing that is general about the constructor is that it does not return a value. It does not return a value. So there is no void here, there's no end, bool, whatever, there's nothing. So simply bank account, and the constructor is bank account. Type. Can the constructor be overloaded? Yes, the constructor can be overloaded. And one friend here should tell me, so Ala, you tell me what's overloading?
It's when the class or the function has too many variables and functions.
No, not really.
It's when we have two functions of the same name, but they have different number of parameters.
Yes, indeed. So overloading means that the function will have the same name, but with a different parameters. So if you, some other friend to tell me, so Sandra,
Yes, doctor.
okay. So if you look at those functions are constructors. Why they are constructors? Because simply they have the same name as the class name. Simply they have the same name as the class name. But can you explain, Sandra, how they are overloading, how we are overloading the constructor?
Because in the public function, each one of them initializes different. يعني, the bank account first has in dollars and cents and the double rate, and then it has in dollars and double rate only. And
Yes.
there's a
And
default-
then the third one has nothing. So
yes.
if you look here, my friends, you will find that this function receives, three parameters. This function receives two parameters. This function received no parameters, no input parameters. Okay, so this function is named bank account. This function is named bank account. This function is named bank account. So we have three constructors. They have the same name, but all of them, they have different input parameters. The first one has 3, the second one has 2, and the third one has none. Great. So, yes, Maya?
Doctor, doesn't also overloading depend on, it can either be the number of parameters or the type of the parameters?
Mainly, I never did the type of the parameters, but you might be right, yes. So it's the number of parameters, and sometimes the return value as well. But actually, I never try to overload the changing the data types. And but yes, Sander, you're right. So you can change,
Fine.
yes, the number of parameters and the data types as well. So instead of dollars in integers, you can say dollars in float. This is also a type of overloading as well. Okay, but
Thank you.
you have, Maya, you have to change the number of parameters. Not necessarily the data type. So it's this and this, not this or this. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So if this is 3, this has to be 2. But if this is 3 with it, if this is 3 with different data type, so it's not good. You have to change the number of parameters. Even it has no value, Maya. It has no value because at the end of the day, it's the same function with different data types. So different input types means that the function is just slightly different. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. Thank
Yeah.
you, Doc.
Okay, sure. So what is the benefit of the constructor? The benefit of the constructor actually to initialize some private members of the class, to initialize some private members of the class. What does it mean to initialize some private members of the class? So let's have this example, and let me have one good friend with me. So let me have Reem. Reem?
Yes, doctor.
Yes. So if we look at this example, we agreed that we have 3 constructors. We agreed that we have 3 constructors. Let's go to the main. Let's go to the main and take it step by step. So if we look here, what are we doing, Yarim? So let's look at this statement with this red rectangle around it. So what are we doing?
We're initializing the account one with the constructor.
Yes, what's account 1?
It's an object.
Great. So step by step. So account 1 is an object. And what's account 2?
It's also an object.
It's an object. So we have 2 objects, account 1 and account 2. And they belong to a class which is named
Bank account.
bank account. Great. So first thing that we're doing is that we have a bank account. This is the name of the class. And then we have 2 objects, account 1 which is, and account 1 takes 3 parameters, 100, 2, and 3. And then account 2. Let's see what's going to happen. So if we're making an object that is named account 1 and we open this bracket, and if we are making another object which is account 2 and we didn't open any bracket. So first, account 1 with a bracket will call a constructor. So coming back to Reem, which one of them, account 1, 100, 2, and 3 will be calling? The first one, the second one, or the third one?
The first one.
The first one. Why the first one, Yarim? because
Because of the
yeah,
three
you can see
parameters.
there are 3 parameters. So it will call the first constructor. The second one has nothing. It has no brackets. So it will call which one, Yaim?
The default one, the third one.
The default one, which is the third one. Okay? So if we don't have brackets here, then it will call the default one. So what if, and this is a question for me, what if we don't have a function that is called bank account and we don't have this constructor? If we don't have this constructor, so the compiler assumes that there's a default constructor. The compiler assumes that there's a default constructor. The compiler assumes that there's a default constructor that does simply nothing. That does simply nothing. Okay? So assuming that this constructor does not exist, then the compiler assumes it exists and it does nothing. In this example, it has something. Type. Returning back to what is the benefit of the constructor? The benefit of the constructor is to initialize the private member functions of the class with initial values. Later on, you can do the setters based on the user input to have user defined values. Okay, to have final values. You can do this. So what was the example of having a constructor? The example of having a constructor is that if you're going to open a bank account. So if you want to open a bank account, for example, a saving account, then you go to the bank and make an initial deposit of 1,000. So they will open an account for you. So once you open an account, so the minimum balance will be 1,000. Later on, you come and deposit 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, or whatsoever. Then this will be the value of your balance afterwards. But your initial balance value, it will be 1,000. So in this example, and coming back to Reem, let's go step by step. So bank account 1, 100, 2, and 3. Let's see what will happen. So it will call the constructor Reem, which has 3 parameters, which is basically this one. So a reminder, any function including the constructor should have the class name, double dots, and the function itself. So it will check if the dollars is less than. So can you translate this, Yarim?
Yes, it checks if the dollars are less than 0, and
Yes.
or if the cents are less than 0, or the rate is less than 0, then it
It
see
says
out
something illegal and exits the program, and then continue.
and then it makes the balance equal to dollars plus 0.01 multiplied by cents, and
Yes.
it makes the interest rate equals the rate.
Great. So what it will simply do, this 100 is the dollars, this 2 is the cents, and this 3 is the rate. So it simply initialize the private member variables in the class that is called the balance and the interest rate. It initializes them by certain values. So those are the initial values. Let's continue the Yaim. Then C out, we don't care, and account one dot output, we don't care. It calls a function called output, and then it comes another call. Then it outputs few things. Okay, so what if we have something like this, Yaim? Bank account 2, account 3, and then we have 103. It will call the first constructor or the second constructor?
Second one.
The second one. Thank you, Yain. Thank you, Yain. So, based on the number of parameters, it will call one of those constructors. So the constructor can be overloaded. What does it mean by overloading a constructor? Means you provide a second function. It provides a second function that is the same as the first constructor, but in different parameters, in different input parameters. And then you can create an object. In this case, it's account 1 or account 2, calling any one of the constructors you have. Okay? Any one of the constructors you have.
I have a question بس عشان انا بصراحة لسه يعني بتلخبط شوية بين الكونستراكتورز والديستراكتور وكده.
طيب
هو الكونستراكتور هو اللي انا يعني بقول بيه الفانكشن اللي موجودة في الكلاس؟
لا، الكونستراكتور بتعمله امتى يا محمد؟ الكونستراكتور بتعمله لما يبقى لما تكريت اوبجكت بيبلونج للكلاس دوت. اول المين انا عملت ايه؟ بص هنا انا عملت ايه؟ ده اول المين. I created an object اسمه ايه؟ account 1. خلاص؟ وanother object اسمه account 2. تمام؟ اول ما create object اسمه account 1 او object اسمه account 2 بقول الكومبايلر بيقول relevant constructor. في الحالة دي بيقول الكونستراكتور نمرة 1 في السلايد اللي فاتت. في الحالة دي بيقول الكونستراكتور نمرة 3 اللي هو الديفولت كونستراكتور. فهم؟
I mean يعني ان هي بانك اكاونت اللي فيها end dollars و end cents و double rate دي فانكشن موجودة اساسا في الكلاس already مكتوبة صح؟
اهي الفانكشن دي على اسم الكلاس. اسمها ايه؟ اسم الفانكشن دي ايه؟
بانك اكاونت.
على اسم ايه؟
الكلاس. هي لازم تبقى نفس اسم الكلاس صح؟
طيب ودي مش فانكشن عادية، دي لازم تبقى على نفس اسم الكلاس. ده نمرة 1. نمرة 2، هل في void هنا؟
لا.
أو انت أو أي حاجة؟
لا.
مفيش. طالما مفيش انت أو void أو أي حاجة من الحاجات دي يبقى دي اسمها constructor. اوكي؟ وبتتنادى لما تعمل ايه؟ لما تخلق object من الكلاس. أول ما تخلق object من الكلاس بينادي على الكونستراكتور على طول. طيب وات اف انك انت ما عملتش اي كونستراكتور، بتنادي من جواها على حاجه اسمها الديفولت كونستراكتور. ده ما بيعملش حاجه، الكومبايلر بيعمل كده. لو انت حطيت كونستراكتور يبقى انت بتنادي على الكونستراكتور ده. اوكي
تمام.
اوكي طيب anyone doesn't understand what the constructor is, what's overloading the constructor? Should we go somewhere else? Anyone doesn't understand what the constructor is?
طب دكتور معلش عندي سؤال تاني معلش. هو ايه الفرق بين يعني اليوز بتاع الفانكشن والكونستراكتور؟
حبيبي الكونستراكتور ده بيتنده مرة واحدة. خلاص؟ لما تخلق الاوبجكت. الفانكشن ممكن تندهها 1000 مرة.
تمام.
الكونستراكتور ده مش فانكشن عادية، فانكشن بتتنده ساعة ما تخلق اوبجكت من الكلاس ده. اوكي؟
تمام يا دكتور.
اوكي. طيب. There are three kinds of constructors. There are three kinds of constructor. The first one is the default constructor. The second one is a parameterized constructor. The third one is a shallow copy constructor. Type. What does a default constructor and a parameterized constructor and a copy constructor, what does they do? They initialize the private members of that. لكن there are three types of the constructor. There are three types of the constructor. The first one is the default constructor that receives no input, no input parameters. The second one is the parameterized constructor. The third one is the copy constructor. Type. What is the purpose of each one of them? We have seen before the default constructor, and we have seen the parameterized constructor, and we will see what's a copy constructor. So let's have different, let's explain each type of the constructor. So I'll have one friend with me. So I'll have Amira.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, Amira who wants the lecture to be as late as possible. Yes. Okay, Amira. Okay. So, what is the name of this class, Amira?
Cube.
Cube. And it has only one function, which is really a constructor. And what's its name?
بتاع ايه يا دكتور مش فاهمة.
Where is the constructor of the class? Yeah, it has only one function.
اللي هو public.
تمام. Where is the constructor? اسمه ايه الكونستراكتور؟
Cube.
Cube. طيب. As we said, the constructor is the same name as the class name. This is number one. The constructor returns has no return value. So, type. Let's go to this small and trivial main. C is what, ya Amira? This thing.
Constructor.
Yes. So, no, C, not cube.
Object.
It's an object. Okay? Amira, you have to study, Amira. Okay? So, C is an object that belongs to the class cube. As far as cube C, I don't put any brackets here, so it will call the default constructor. It will call the default constructor. It will call the default constructor. What is the default constructor? The default constructor is the one that has no input parameters. And this is the constructor that doesn't have any parameters. Do you see any input parameters? The answer is no. Okay, so it doesn't have any input parameter. So this is called a default constructor type. What if we don't have a constructor here that is named cube? Then the compiler will call a default constructor that does nothing. Let's have another friend. So I'll have Ayman Ashraf.
Yes.
Ayman?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ayman. So let's go in this piece of code. We're creating an object of class cube, and this will cause what, Ayman?
This will cause that the constructor will be called creating an object, and the constructor
The
will be
default
included.
constructor will be called. Then what will the constructor do?
Initialize side equals to 10.
Initialize side equal 10. And what's side?
Side is an integer type variable.
Yes, and it is a member variable for the class, which is int side, It is a public member. يعني it's okay for now that it is public member, but it should be private. Yeah. Anyways.
دكتور عندي سؤال.
So اتفضل يا عبد الرحمن.
هو لو ما كناش حطينا الديفولت كونستراكتور وكتبنا جنب int side equals 10 كانت هتبقى هي كل ما call object تبقى اللي بيحصل.
Yes, you can do this, but this is not recommended. Yeah, it's right, but this is not recommended. Yeah.
Why not? طيب يعني في سبب ولا هو بس better programming؟
لا, good practice. Yeah, يعني it's a good practice to initialize the private member variables of the class in the constructor يا عبد الرحمن. يعني من الآخر كده كود نضيف يعني. Okay.
ايوه تمام.
Okay.
If we don't initialize it, will it get the value of 0?
You have to initialize it by a value of 0, because if you don't initialize it at all, انت وحظك يا مرام. So it's a good practice to initialize it by a value of 0.
Okay.
Okay. So coming to Ayman Ashraf. So C out, C side. What will be the value for this, ya Ayman?
That will be 10.
That will be 10. So the conclusion for this that we have a default constructor, and the default constructor is the one that takes no inputs. And
I have a question.
Yes.
What if int side was private?
No, it should be private, ya Ahmed. Yeah. يعني it's not so recommended to be public. It will be the same whether it's private or public in this case.
برضه لما اجي هقدر اعملها سي اوت برضه بما ان هي private.
No. كلامك صح. I answered something else. If it is private, you cannot see out. You have to make a getter function يا أحمد.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Okay, حبيبي. Okay. So the default constructor will have no input parameters. What if you don't have cube here? So what will be done? So the compiler will assume that there is a default constructor that does really nothing. So a parameterized constructor. What is a parameterized constructor? The parameterized constructor is the constructor that receives one or more parameters, like this one. We already have taken it. The parameterized constructor is the one that receives one or more parameters. So in this case, it receives 1, 2, and 3. In this case, it receives it receives 3 parameter. This is number 1, this is number 2, and this is number 3. This is called the parameterized constructor. The second one, the parameterized constructor, receives 2 parameters, and then the default constructor received no parameters at all, receives no parameters at all. So the parameterized constructor is a normal constructor with receiving one or more input parameters, one or more input parameters, one or more input parameters. Type. What's a copy constructor? What's a copy constructor? What's a copy constructor? A copy constructor is the one that بالبلدي كده it makes an exact copy of certain object. It makes an exact copy of certain object. It makes an exact copy of certain object. يعني ايه الكلام ده هو؟ It means that I have an object and this object has values for the private member functions. And what do I do? This object is named Muhammad. And I have another object which is named Ala. So Muhammad age is 19 and his he is let's say 175 centimeter. So if I make another object called Ala, then Ala's age will be 19 and also she is 175 centimeter. So once again, a copy constructor, is you are making a copy of existing object to another object. تمام؟ يعني بالبلدي كده الإزازة دي لونها أبيض وماركة أكوافينا، بعمل إزازة تانية برضه لونها أبيض وماركة أكوافينا. خلاص؟ الإزازة دي الكلاس، الأوبجكت هو بوتل 1 وأوبجكت تاني اسمه بوتل 2. بوتل 1 is white color and the brand is Aquafina. Bottle 2 is برضه will be white color and the brand is Aquafina. The brand is Aquafina. طيب. There are two kinds of constructor. The first is shallow constructor, which is compiler created. What does it mean compiler created? That you do nothing. الكومبايلر هو اللي بيعمل الكلام ده بالنيابة عنك. And there's something else called deep constructor, deep copy constructor. The first one is shallow copy constructor, and the second one is deep copy constructor. And this one you have to make it, and this one you have to code it. So shallow constructor, the compiler will do it on your behalf. The second one, deep copy constructor, means that you as a programmer has to do it. Let's see shallow copy constructor. طيب. Shallow copy constructor, someone, and he will receive two bonuses if he discovered that this shallow constructor is similar to something that we have taken so far. Look at this diagram and tell me the shallow constructor is different to what? Is similar to what?
Does this look like a pointer?
Pointers.
No. You can. No. Please. You can say at the chat privately, of course, not for everyone. No one answered till now. Yes, right. No. It's not pointers. It's not inheritance. Yeah, Abdurrahman Baha is the first one who make it right. No, Maya. Ahmed Saeed, you're near. طيب, I have to answer for the sake of time. Abdul Ati, you're right. Ayman Ashraf, you're right. Ibrahim Abdul Maqsood, you're right. So whoever I said answered right, give yourself 2 bonuses. Okay?
Thank you, doctor.
So it is very similar to call by reference. It's very similar to call by reference. And whoever answered pointers, this is not a wrong answer. This is not a wrong answer, but definitely it's not what a shallow copy constructor does. Yes, if you remember before, this thing, that when I create an object, what do? It's like a pointer. This is the name of the object, and it points into certain memory location. So yes, it's somehow a pointer, but it doesn't really distinguish this copy constructor. Right. What's a shallow copy constructor? And again, a shallow copy constructor, and again, it's a shallow copy constructor. And a shallow copy constructor is the one that is made by the compiler, Okay? And by the way, we took it in the previous lecture. And we have taken a slide in the previous lecture that is a copy constructor. And someone tell me what did we take in the previous lecture that is a shallow copy constructor. The one who will make it will have 2 bonuses as well. Yalla, in the previous lecture. Excuse me?
What was the question?
The question that in the previous lecture we had a slide, and this slide is describing the shallow copy constructor. What was the slide about? No, not about inheritance. No, not about encapsulation. Not about constructors, not about memory locations. Okay. طيب مش هحيركم كتير. But a piece of advice يا جماعة. اللهم إني قد أبلغت اللهم فاشهد. Each lecture, starting from the previous lecture, you have to listen to it again and you have to study it. اللهم إني قد أبلغت اللهم فاشهد. محمد المهدي.
Yes, doctor.
أنت عارفني لما بقول كده صح؟ So يا جماعة in 110 يعني take it from your friend. It's not 106. 106 you will have the ability before the midterm by 1 or 2 weeks to make it يعني to close the midterm. 110 is not like this. If you don't study lecture by lecture, after the 4th or 5th lecture, you will start getting lost. Then I said this, okay? Yeah, so please study lecture by lecture. Here the lecture again, study the slides, okay? I am here advising you, not grading you. Those are golden days. Don't waste them, okay? Type. A copy constructor, we have taken it, the serial copy constructor, we have taken it in the previous lecture, and actually it was the assignment operator. It was the assignment operator. So if I have a class called book, and then my book, this is an object, and then another object which is your book, then simply let me say that my book dot set title, assuming I have a title as a private member, and there's the title, this is my book. This is the title for it. And then I simply say that your book equal my book. So my book and your book is actually objects. And what did you do? Your book is my book. Then my book title will be equal to this is my book. This is the title of the book. Okay? So this equal is called a shallow copy constructor. A shallow copy constructor. So as if that Yasin and Kenzie, they are working on the same Excel sheet. Kenzie is editing the Excel sheet and Yasin is editing. So whatever Kenzie is editing will be seen by Yasin, and whatever Yasin is editing will be seen and changed by Kenzie. No. Everything in C++ is with a semicolon. Okay. So this is a shallow copy constructor. What does it mean? It means that I have object 1 and object 2, both they are sharing the same memory location. Let's have another example. Okay. So let me have a friend with me. So Ibrahim Abdul Maqsood.
Yes, doctor.
It seems you're having something with the mic, Ibrahim. Okay,
Okay.
you can speak, Adi.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Ibrahim. Okay, so what is the name of this class?
Copy constructor.
Okay, and what is this?
A string called scopy. Private.
Not string.
هو array of the characters. Pointer
array of characters.
pointer pointing at the first
Yes, it's a
character.
pointer.
Yeah.
It's a pointer to an array of characters. It's a pointer at array of characters. Okay. And where's the constructor here, Yasin?
حضرتك
Not
تقصد مين؟
Yasin, Ibrahim, sorry.
اوكي. ايه السؤال تاني؟
Where's the constructor? What is the name of the constructor?
copy constructor
Okay.
في الموجود فوق.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. So we said that the name of the constructor will be the same as what, ya Ibrahim?
name of class.
The name of class. Okay. So what does it do here, ya Ibrahim?
Making a dynamic array called
Is it 1D or 2D?
1D.
1D. So make a dynamic array and point to it by scopy.
Yes.
Then
بيكابي السترنج اللي هو خده في اللي خده في البارامتر بتاع الكونستراكتور.
ممتاز
ممتاز
يا
في الاسكاب.
Okay, so scopy will be what will be passed by str. تمام. Concatenate. This is a member function in the string. What does it do actually? It does concatenation. Concatenation means بيلزق حاجتين في بعض بالعربي. خلاص. And to use this function, I know you may not taken this in 106. You have to use the library called CString. You have to use the library called CString. So basically, هي بتلزق two things together. Anyways, and Ibrahim, stay with me. Don't go anywhere. Okay. And then we have a function here that see out s underscore copy. S underscore copy is a public or a private attribute, ya Ibrahim? Private. If we didn't write private, so it is assumed to be private. صح؟ صح زي الفل. طيب. int main copy constructor C1 copy. So what does it do, Ibrahim?
It's assigning هي الword copy في s copy.
تمام. So s copy. So s copy will have the value of copy. S underscore copy will have the value of copy. تمام؟ تمام زي الفل. Then copy constructor C2 equals C1. So S copy, this belongs to an object that is called what, ya Ibrahim?
C1.
ممتاز. Then I make another, then copy constructor C2 equal C1. طيب. ده shallow copy constructor ولا deep copy constructor? I will answer. This is shallow copy constructor. Why? Because I didn't define a function to copy both objects together. In the next slide, I will do. طيب, this is a shallow copy constructor.
أنا في حاجة مش فاهمها.
Yes.
الفانكشن اللي هي على اليمين تحت خالص دي، ايه الفانكشن اللي احنا عملنا لها ريكول جواها اللي هي strcat؟
str cat؟ بص strcat دي فانكشن موجودة في لايبرري اسمها CString يا محمد. خلاص؟ فايدة الفانكشن دي إن هي تلزق two strings في بعض. فهي scopy يعني I'll explain it now يعني. scopy هيبقى بكوبي وstr constructor فبيلزق الكلمتين في بعض فبتبقى copy constructor. تمام؟
و str copy دي اللي هي يعني بتاخد مثلا ال string
str
الاولاني
copy
تعمل له كوبي
يعني
تحطه في واحد تاني.
exactly.
تمام.
طيب يا جماعة for everyone str copy بتاخد string وبتحط الفاليو بتاعته في another string. فit takes the value of str and put it in s_copy. str_cat يعني str concatenate, it takes the value of str and concatenated بتلزقها في s_copy. We'll explain it يعني in more details. Just يعني be a little bit patient يعني. Okay, coming back to Bahim. Bahim.
Yes, doctor.
So C1 S copy is equal to what يا Bahim?
C1 is equal to word copy.
Copy. طيب C2 equal to C1. We have said that both object member variables will be the same. يبقى أنا C2, this is another object, S_ copy is equal to what بقت بعد ال assignment operator؟
Copy برضه.
بقت equal to copy. Let's continue. C1 dot display. What will happen يا إبراهيم؟
هي display الاس كوبي هيعمل print
الاس كوبي بتاعت مين؟ بتاعت C1 ولا C2؟
بتاعت C1.
بتاعت C1 اللي هي ايه الفاليو بتاعتها؟
copy.
طيب C2 dot display will display what؟
برضه الورد كوبي.
copy. تمام. C1 dot concatenate will call what function يا إبراهيم؟
اللي هي اللي موجودة على الشمال على الشمال.
اوكي concatenate هايل. C1 dot concatenate will call this function. طيب it will do what؟
هيلزق اللي هي الكونستراكتور هيلزقها في كلمة copy عشان
اوكي great. يبقى S copy will become S copy will become instead of copy will become copy constructor. لزق الكلمتين في بعض. This means that C2 S copy will become ايه يا إبراهيم؟
C2 is copy هتبقى copy بس.
لا هتبقى copy constructor.
هو ما عملش assign تاني وكان اشتغل على C1 بس.
طيب يعني the shallow copy constructor if an object changes with a value of S copy the other one will be automatically changed. Why يا جماعة؟ They are both sharing the same memory location. They are both sharing the same memory location. They are both sharing the same memory location.
تمام.
Okay. فالثانية طيب what if we make another thing يا جماعة؟ What if we make C2 dot concatenate? Stay with me يا إبراهيم.
دكتور أنا بس مش فاهم هو سوري.
اوكي.
الكوبي كونستراكتور بيبقى كلاس لوحده يعني؟
مش فاهم.
يعني حضرتك عامله كلاس لوحده ولا هو بيبقى أنا مش مجمع الحتة دي أوي.
لا أنا الكلاس سميته كوبي كونستراكتور. سميه محمد المهدي مش فارقة.
لكن هو الكوبي كونستراكتور اللي عندنا اللي هو اللي جوه الفانكشن اللي جوه.
exactly. لا مش فانكشن جوه.
اللي هي
أنا
كوبي
عندي
كونستراكتور اللي في الأول دي.
اللي هي دي كوبي كونستراكتور. دي ما بتعملش حاجة، ده كونستراكتور عادي جدا.
أمال فين الكوبي كونستراكتور؟
الكوبي كونستراكتور هي علامة الإيكوال ساين بتنادي فانكشن معمولة جوه الكومبايلر. أنت مش شايفها. بتخلي C2 ايكوال ل C1 وبتحطهم في ذا سيم ميموري لوكيشن.
يعني ده بعد ما بنخرج ونروح المين.
بالظبط كده بالظبط.
تمام انا كنتش مجمع الحته دي.
ماشي اوكي.
دكتور
دكتور
هو
علي was raising his hand.
اوكي.
دكتور STR كات بتلزق الكلمتين في بعض و STR كوبي بس بالظبط does what؟
simply str cat بتلزق الكلمتين في بعض. str copy بتحط الفاليو بتاعت str جوه s underscore copy.
اوكي تمام. Thank you دكتور.
طيب. Whoever is raising his hand just speak.
Doctor, I have a question.
Yes.
So if we have a class and we have normal constructors, and in the main function, if we just equate two objects, that means we created a copy constructor?
Yes. And it is
Okay.
called shallow copy constructor. And both objects will be sharing the same memory location. Okay. So if you change in one, the second one change automatically. Later, we will study deep copy constructor after this slide, where you will define what's called what's the equal sign. We will define it يعني as a separate function. Okay.
Thank you.
Who else?
دكتور انا بصراحه لحد دلوقتي ما فهمتش يعني الاس كوبي والاس تي ار. انا فهمت
شرحتهم
الكوبي
مرتين
كونستراكت
بس
اللي هو
ماشي
التايب شادو،
هشرحهم
لكن
تاني. اوكي بس كده احنا محتاجين نقعد شويه زياده في الليكتشر دي. اوكي اس تي ار كوبي بتحط الفاليو بتاعت اس تي ار جوه انا بتاعت فاريبل جوه انذر فاريبل. يعني ايه اس تي ار؟ ايه الفاليو بتاعتها؟ الفاليو بتاعتها كوبي، بتحطها جوه اس اندرسكور كوبي، فاس اندرسكور كوبي بقت الفاليو بتاعتها كوبي. خلاص دي اس تي ار
تمام.
كوبي. اس تي ار كات بتلزق كلمتين في بعض بس.
دكتور عندي سؤال سريع.
اوكي.
هو اقول؟
اتفضل.
تمام. هو تاني سطر في الانت مين، انا مش فاهم فين البارامتر بتاعت الفانكشن.
مفيش بارامترز. تاني فانكشن في تاني سطر في المين this one.
ايوه.
اوكي this one مفيش parameters. اقراها let's read it together. C2 belongs to copy constructor. خلاص C2 is equal to C1. It will call a function that you don't see that will make the value of s underscore copy equal of C1 equal to C2. As simple as this. You don't see the function. The compiler has made it for you.
Okay.
Who else? Let me move. Type. And it will become clear also in the in the other example. Deep copy constructor, you have to define it. There will be a function for this equal sign. Deep copy constructor, you have to define it. Deep copy constructor, you have to define it. أنا آسف. Deep copy constructor, you have to define it. يعني إيه you have to define it؟ يعني you have to create a function for copying the content of two objects together. What is the other different? Both objects will be stored in different memory location. Both objects will be stored in different memory locations. Both objects will be stored in different memory location. The shallow copy constructor, both objects will be at the same memory location. Let's see an example. I will have my Lebanese friend with me, Muhammad Zay. لا, I'll have Lebanese two friend.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, Ali. Okay. So I have this class. This class is the same as the previous one. Type. One quick question. How many constructors do we have in this class?
2.
2. هايل. The first one is the one that we have seen previously. The first one that we have seen previously. خلاص?
Yes.
This is called a parameterized constructor. I am repeating, this is called a parameterized constructor. This is called a parameterized constructor. This is called the parameterized constructor. Why? Because it gets a parameter here which is star str. Anyways, the other one is called copy constructor. So I have number 1. Even that the Valentine is over, I will use heart. So this is the first one, and this is the second one. Those are two constructors. تمام. And then this is a function that is called concatenate, and the same function that is called display. طيب. I have a function called copy constructor. طيب. Do I have to call a copy constructor? Copy constructor? No, I don't have to name it Fankush. So I can say class Fankush. And then Fankush, this is the first constructor. The second one is Fankush with a different parameter. Let's see how it will go. Let's see how it will go. تمام? طيب. Then let's go back to Ali. Copy constructor C1 copy. What does it do? It will call which constructor? The first one or the second one, and why?
It would call the second constructor, which is the shallow copy constructor, and it would assign the word
It will
copy
call the
to
first
str.
one, not the second one.
Sorry, the first one, it would assign the word copy to the variable str.
ممتاز. So the first one, this is C1. It will call the first one. Why it will call the first one? Because this is a string or a character array, and this one is a character array. This is like this. This is like this. So it will call the first constructor. تمام. Then coming back, copy constructor C2 equal C1. C2 equals C1. C2 equals C1. C2 equal C1. Too many stars. Oops. معلش. طيب equal. Then this will call the second constructor. This will call the second constructor. Where is the second constructor? This one. This is a user-defined constructor. This is a user-defined constructor. This is a user-defined constructor. What does it mean, a user-defined constructor? يعني انت اللي عامله بايدك.
دكتور طب وايه الفرق من ده والتاني؟
التاني الفانكشن دي كانت موجودة في التاني.
لا انا فاهم بس طب ما هو اصلا كده الكلاس دي كلها احنا اللي كاتبينها يعني.
تمام. This function يا محمد is something that you have written to do copy a copy constructor. خلاص. And if you do it by yourself, this means that you are equating two objects together. This means that you are equating two objects together. بعد كده لو غيرت في الاولاني مش هيتغير في الثاني. لو انت ما كتبتش الفانكشن بنفسك، لو غيرت في الاولاني الثاني هيتغير اوتوماتيكلي. نرجع مرة تانية. معلش it's a little bit confusing. I understand, but يعني احنا مع بعض. This one, how many constructors do I have? First one. This one, as far as I didn't make a function to do this equal sign, a copy constructor, then two objects will be at the same memory location. Two objects will be at the same memory location. Two objects will be at the same memory location. If I change something in the first one, afterwards, the second one will be changed. Here, I wrote a function called copy constructor, and it has a fixed format. Okay? Then, after a while, if I changed in the first object, it will not change the second. It will not change the second. Here, if this is a copy constructor that is made by the compiler for you, is made by the compiler for you, is made by the compiler for you. If I change this, after a while, the second one changes. Here, if this will call this function, and you have to write it in the same way. After a while, if you change in C1, it will not affect in C2. Let's continue and things will become clear. طيب, let's come back to my friend Ali. So Ali, you're here?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, so copy constructor. What is the input here?
Doesn't it assign C2 to C1?
No. The input here. So
okay.
So I am passing an object. I am passing an object, and I am passing it by reference or by value?
By reference.
By reference, because there's an and sign here. I am passing it by reference because there's an and sign here. Type, what does it mean, this thing? It means that this is the name of the class, copy constructor. Then copy constructor, this is the name of the class. And this is called by reference, and this is str. This means that str is an object. I am passing an object to a function. I am passing an object to a function. So str is an object that belongs to a class that is called copy constructor. It's an object that belongs to a class that is called copy constructor.
Doctor, why do you need const here? const.
Ignore const here. Ignore const here. It's another long story. مش فارقة كتير هنا. خلاص؟ Okay. is copy equal new car 16. This means that is copy. This is for C1 or for C2, ya Muhammad? Is copy here. Ya Ali. Ali?
This is for C2.
For C2. So, copy constructor. Copy constructor. C2 equal C1. What will happen? This will call a function that takes an input, an object that belongs to the class that is named copy constructor. If the class is named Fankush, then str is an object belonging to a class called Fankush, and this is the and sign. And this is the and sign. This is called by reference. This is called by reference. This is called by reference. Okay? So,
why did we set it to constant?
Why didn't we set it to constant? I will tell you after a while. Okay? Just please be patient. Okay? So, this equal sign means that I will call this function, and the input to this function is an object that belongs to a class called copy constructor. Is copy that we have made here بتعود returned to C2. So this is the object that is C2, but we don't write it. Dot is copy. تمام, equal new char 16. طيب, يبقى then str copy s underscore copy that belongs to C2. احط فيها اي value, احط فيها str dot s underscore copy. str دي بتاعت الفانكشن, يعني معناها C1 dot s underscore copy, which has a value in this case that is copy. هعيد للمرة الثالثة والأخيرة. C2 equal C1. أول ما بتشوف الإيكوال ساين بتنادي فانكشن اسمها copy constructor. constructor اسمه copy constructor. بياخد object اسمه str بيبلونج لكلاس اسمه copy constructor. بس دي call by reference. دي call by reference. ليه؟ عشان الفاليو بتاعت copy تروح للانبوت دوت. طيب str دوت so copy constructor لو كان اسم الكلاس فنكوش يبقى str belong للكلاس اللي اسمه فنكوش. اس copy دي بتاعت انهي واحده؟ بتاعت C2 بتاع الاوبجكت اللي اسمه C2 اللي على الشمال. يبقى C2 دوت s underscore copy equal new car 16. بحجز 16 places in memory of type character. str s copy حط فيها str copy s copy حط فيها str دوت s copy اللي هي الفاليو بتاعتها copy. يبقى C2 dot s copy will be equal to copy. تمام. واساسا من الاصل C1 dot s underscore copy is equal to copy. طيب so far so good. Yahya, you want to say something?
Yes, doctor. When we wrote copy constructor C2 equals C1, why didn't we the value go to the first constructor, the highlighted in yellow?
Why? Because because what is the input parameter for the first constructor?
The first constructor is character.
Character, okay, is a pointer to a character, right?
Yeah.
Am I passing a pointer to a character? This will be the previous call where I passed a pointer to a character, not the second one. The second one, the second one I am passing an object, so it will be a copy constructor, a deep copy constructor. Okay.
Okay. شكرا.
Okay. Then after this step C1.display, then it will display C1 dot s underscore copy, which is copy. C2 dot s underscore copy will be equal to copy. This is because I have made a copy constructor. Okay, C1 dot concatenate, I will pass to it constructor, then C1 dot s underscore copy will be equal to copy plus constructor, which is equal to copy constructor. Type C2.display. This is a deep copy constructor. This is a deep copy constructor. Why it's a deep copy constructor? Because I have made a function for it. Both objects will be at different memory location. If you change someone here, it will not be changing someone there. So C2.sCopy, even if I change C1 to copy constructor, will remain as copy. Look 10 seconds. If you don't understand, let me know. In the first example, when I change C1 to be copy constructor, automatically the second one will be changed. Why? Because this is a shallow copy constructor. This is a shallow copy constructor. Okay, look at it more deeply and let me know if I can repeat. I know it's not an easy or it's not a very easy concept. It's not a very easy concept. I know.
المال 1 او 6 بس يا دكتور.
طيب زي الفل.
دكتور طب can we implement it يعني مثلا على يعني كلمة غير كوبي، لأن برضو كلمة كوبي دي يعني أنا مش عارف أنت حضرتك بتقول حاجة ولا
طيب انسى
ولا نعمل
كوبي،
إيه بالظبط
سميها
يعني.
محمد.
أنا فهمت هما بيعملوا إيه، بس الكلام نفسه
ماشي.
بيلخبط بصراحة.
اما انت لازم تبص على الاكزامبل تاني يعني.
طب دكتور هو اللاب النهارده هيكفر التوبكس دي ولا لا؟
لا. اوكي. طب انت يا محمد فهمت الفكرة؟
أنا
محمد
فاهم
انا
الفكرة
ولا
بس ما فهمتش إنه مثلا في الكونستراكتور اللي في الهايلايتد ان اورنج ده
ماله؟
هو يعني مكتوب s underscore copy equal new character 16 يعني ده تمام. هو بتباس لي كلمة copy.
بباص لي اوبجكت. انا بباص لي ايه اللي انا بباص؟ ايه copy constructor بباص لي ايه؟
copy
ايه
constructor object.
ايه copy constructor str ده ايه؟
object
بيبلونج لكلاس اسمه ايه؟
copy constructor.
طيب بباص لي اوبجكت بيبلونج لكلاس، بباص لي
انا قصدي
اوبجكت.
كلمة copy اللي في الانت main دي اللي هي copy constructor C1.
ماشي. C1 دي بتنادي التاني ولا بتنادي الاولاني؟
التاني لان دي word مش
ما
character.
بتناديش C1 copy، دي بتنادي الاولاني مش التاني. الايكوال ساين دي اللي بتنادي التاني. C1 copy دي بتنادي الاولاني. C2 equal C1 دي بتنادي التاني. بتخلي S copy اللي موجودة في الاولاني هي نفس S copy اللي موجودة في التاني. خلاص؟ بعد كده بتزود constructor على S copy اللي موجودة في الأولاني. التانية ما بتتأثرش عشان هما الاتنين في different memory location. أعيد تاني يا جماعة.
please do.
أعيد من أول إمتى؟
يعني can you go over how we do deep constructors تاني؟
أوكي تاني.
طب دكتور هو ما ينفعش يعني حضرتك تجيب لنا examples اكتر الكلاس الجاي عليهم؟
ما هو ده يعني هي بتشتغل بطريقة واحدة، هو ده الإكزامبل الوحيد يعني هغير بس في الكلام بس. محمد listen للليكتشر مرة تانية.
تمام.
لأنه let me repeat it. أوكي.
وانا ينفع أليف لو أنا فاهم؟
لو إيه؟
لو أنا فاهم الكونستراكتور خلاص اللي هو
يعني خليك 5 دقايق لسه هشرح حاجة تانية يعني.
تمام.
Okay. I'll go over it one more time. Okay. So copy constructor. This is the copy constructor. This is the name of the class. C1. This is an object that belongs to a class called copy constructor. Type C1. This is an object. And C1, I am passing a parameter called copy to it. It will call the first constructor. Why it is calling the first constructor? Because this is a character array, and this matches the first constructor where I have a character array. Someone doesn't understand this, it is a normal constructor. Anyone doesn't understand so far? طيب, let's go again. Then another example, not another example, the second line, C2 equal to C1. طيب, if I don't have this function, so this is called a shallow copy constructor. This, what does it mean? A shallow copy constructor means that C1 and C2, both of them in the same memory location. ده اللي شرحناه in the previous time. If I change one, the second one change automatically. خلاص? This is a deep copy constructor. Let's go step by step. C2 is equal to C1. C2 is equal to C1. C2 is equal to C1. Type. What will happen? It will call the second function. The second function has one input, which is str. This is an object that belongs to a class called copy constructor. ولازم تكتب الفانكشن دي بالمنظر دوت بغض النظر عن اسم الكلاس. يعني you can name instead of str, you can name it أي حاجة في الدنيا. And it has to be passed by a reference. طيب. After this call, C1 dot S underscore copy will be equal to copy. After the first call, type C2 is equal to C1. Okay, what will happen? First, C2 dot S underscore copy will be allocated to 16 characters, new 16 car 16. So it will be 16 characters, assuming that this is 16 characters. لسه فاضية. اس كوبي بتاعت C2 لسه فاضية. اس كوبي بتاعت C2 لسه فاضية. str copy s underscore copy يعني C2 dot s copy str dot s underscore copy. طيب ده معناته ايه؟ str dot s underscore copy is equal to C1 dot s underscore copy is equal to copy. Then C underscore copy s copy will be equal to copy. str copy بتعمل ايه؟ بتحط the second value into the first value. The second value هي str.s copy. str.s copy ده الاوبجكت ده اللي انت you pass it to a function. تمام؟ This will be equal to C1.s underscore copy because you're passing an object to a function. خلاص؟ C2.s copy becomes copy. تمام؟ In memory, C2.s underscore copy is different than C1.s copy. يعني ده فيها كلمة copy والتانية فيها كلمة copy. والاتنين منفصلين عن بعض. طيب C1 dot concatenate constructor يبقى ده C1 وده C2. This is C1 this is C2. تمام. طيب C1 dot concatenate constructor يبقى C1 will become copy constructor. طيب did it affect C2? No, it doesn't affect C2. يبقى C1 هيبقى copy constructor, C2 هيبقى copy بس. So this is basically deep copy constructor. Ahmed, is it Ahmed Al-Hager, is it does it become clear?
The general idea is clear, but can you explain اللي هو what the C1.S underscore copy equals copy is for, اللي هو the part you wrote in the end?
فين؟
In the bottom right اللي هو C1
This
على
one?
اليمين خالص.
str.s copy equal C1 is copy لأنه ده اللي أنت عامل له passing للفانكشن. خلاص؟
اوكي.
دلوقتي
this isn't new code in this is just explaining what's happening مش كده؟
This is explaining what's happening. Yes.
Okay, and I thought this was writing new code.
No, this is explaining what's happening. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
طيب then C2.s equal to copy. طيب يا جماعة if there's further confusion you have to listen again to the lecture. Anyways, anyone doesn't understand the general idea? I can still repeat. I know there's a lab after 20 minutes, but I can repeat. Okay. So final thing. Ali, you can speak.
Yeah, I just have a question. The last command was C2.display just gives us copy, right?
This gives us copy. Yes.
Oh, so if I put again C2.concatenate, I can
copy,
get exactly
copy constructor and copy.
If I now put C2.concatenate, I get also copy constructor, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. طيب. Final thing in this lecture, I know it's a long lecture. Final thing in this lecture is edstructor. Edstructor is used mainly when you exit, before you exit the main function. Because before you exit the main function. And what does the constructor looks like? There is this symbol. This one. So basically it is the same name of the class. So if this class is string, then the destructor is named string. If this class is string, then this function, then the destructor is named the string. But with this small and. Normally, if you don't write a destructor, it is assumed to be there. The compiler will call it automatically. If you don't define a destructor, the compiler will call it. There can be many constructors, but one destructor. Many constructors, but one destructor. Many constructors, but one destructor. طيب, تمام. What do we do in the destructor? Simply, if I make a dynamic allocation. The destructor, you simply do the delete. يعني بالعربي ايه الديستراكتور ده فايدته؟ لو انا عملت نيو لممبر فاريبل، الديستراكتور بعمل فيها الديليت. يعني طالما انا عملت دايناميك الوكيشن بعمل لها freeing. Let's go through this example and this is the final thing. Okay. And by the way, I will let Mariam start a little bit later, يعني just 10-15 minutes so that you have a breeze. Yeah. طيب. So this class is named string. I have two private members of the class, S and size. This is the name of the constructor, and this is the name of the constructor. Why? Because this thing is the same as this thing. Type. This is the name of the destructor. It is the same name of the class. And this is the sign of the destructor. This is the sign of the destructor. Okay? This is the constructor. What do I do in the constructor? I simply initialize a private member, which is S, by hello. So I come here in the main character pointer array, my string equal hello. Then string my string. Sorry, there's a problem here. So string my string, this will call a constructor. 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 We'll give it the value of my string. We'll give it the value of my string. The value of my string is equal to hello. The value of my string is equal to hello. Then S will be equal to hello. بقت allocated وبقت equal to hello. طيب. Then before I return 0, especially at this place, يعني before I close the program, especially at this place, it will call the destructor اللي هو this symbol and string. What it will do, it will simply new allocates a memory, delete, freeze the memory. النيو اللي انا عملتها هنا بقت s equal hello, delete خلاص خلاص بعمل freeing، بفضي الميموري اللي كانت allocated ليها hello. طيب one final thing. A destructor is the same name of the class. It has a symbol that is like this one. There is only one destructor in the class. Then what does it do? It simply, if I make a dynamic allocation, 1D array dynamically, the destructor will make delete this thing to do what? To free the memory that I have allocated it. طيب. I know that this lecture is a little bit difficult. Please listen again to the recording. Please look at the slides. If you are confused, please get back to me on the WhatsApp or calling or whatever method. Thank you, and very sorry that I have make it very lengthy for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Doctor, will you let Mariam start a bit later?
Yes, I will tell her to start a little bit later.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. Bye-bye.
Doctor, where are the slides uploaded?
They are uploaded, Kenzie, on the